So here's a quick recap on our lesson on the volume of spheres. So before we begin, let's just orient ourselves so that if you're looking at a diagram of a sphere, you know what information you maybe need to put down as a label, or you know how to interpret some of the information that's given to you. So remember, a sphere is sort of the fancy name that we give to anything that looks like a ball, a perfect ball. We know that if we were to go through the center of it and draw a line straight across, then we have the diameter. So because it's three-dimensional, we know that we could also draw the diameter going through the center from the top down, or in any direction, as long as it's going from the outside, the outer rim of the circle, through the center to the outside in a straight line. Right, which is why they've drawn this thing here called the great circle. So I can draw great circles in all sorts of different directions on this. Remember that the radius is going to be half the diameter, so the distance from the center of the sphere to the outer rim in any direction as well. Okay, so hopefully that clarifies that, or has reminded you of some basic ideas. Let's move on to the formula used to calculate the volume of spheres. So through experimentation with lots and lots of spheres and comparing them to cylinders and cones and things of that sort, this formula was developed. So it turns out that the volume of a sphere is going to be equal to 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, so to use this cubed function, you have a couple of choices. You need to remember that cubed means that you're multiplying the radius by itself 3 times. Or you can find a button that looks like this. I'm going to type it in right here. Y to the x, y to the power of x on your calculator. Let me see if I can get that in. Right, so y to the power of x. So you might also just have an x cubed button. Okay, so an x to the power of 3 button. Any of those should work just fine. Okay, let's look at a practical example to help us out. So if the question says calculate the volume of each of the following, well, first of all, I'm identifying that this is a sphere, and so I'm going to look for the formula to calculate the volume of a sphere on my formula sheet. And so let's see what I'm given and start to write it down. So in this question, I'm given that the length from the middle out to the outer rim is 8 meters. Well, that actually represents the radius of this sphere. So the radius is exactly 8 meters. So when I look at the volume of a sphere and I try to calculate it, I'm going to first write down the formula so that I don't forget what I need to substitute into that formula. So 4/3 times pi and times whatever the radius is squared. And since the radius is exactly cubed, I'm going to cube that. Okay. Now working this out is a little tricky. You know, when I have, so just on the side over here, if I have 4/3, that really means 4 divided by 3. And so that's usually when I'm trying to punch this into my calculator how I go about it. So I would say 4 divided by 3. Let's see what that gives me. Then I'm going to multiply that by pi, and then times 8 to the power of 3. So go ahead and calculate that for yourself using a calculator. I'm getting, if I round that to the nearest whole number, I get 2,145, and it ends up being 2,144.66 and a bunch of other numbers. I'm going to round this up to the nearest whole number, and since it's meters, volume is measured in cubic units, so I'm going to not forget my unit and write down meters cubed. So here's another example that I would like you to try on your own. So it might make sense to pause this video and to try it yourself. If you're still unsure, maybe you want to watch it first, and that will help you do some of the homework questions. But I'm going to go ahead and solve this. So when I look at this, I've identified it as a sphere. Let me write down what information I have. Well, I have the distance across the entire great circle. And so that's actually my diameter. So I have a diameter of 45 centimeters. When I'm calculating the volume of a sphere, however, I need to know not the diameter, but I need to know the radius. Now I always remember that the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So if I take, so that means that my radius is going to be 45 centimeters divided into 2. It's half the diameter, which gives me about 22.5 centimeters. So now I'm ready to go and plug that value for the radius into my volume formula for the volume of a sphere. So 4/3 pi times 22.5 cubed. And remember again that to get 4/3, I'm just going to say 4 divided by 3. Typing this into my calculator, 4 divided by 3 times pi, and then times 22.5 cubed. And that's a huge number. And I'm getting 47,713, if I round to the nearest whole value, cubic centimeters. Hopefully those examples will help you to get a jump start on doing some of your homework in class. Here are the questions I'd like you to do. Any work that is not completed in class should be completed for homework using your workbook, so don't forget to take it home. Remember that if you're struggling with a question, that the answers to the workbook questions are all on my website through the link to the workbook solutions.